Good afternoon. I welcome you to the Moore County Board of Education regular business meeting for Monday, August 12th. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I move the board enter closed session to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel information pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A1, A5, and A6, and General Statute 115C-319, and to consult with the board attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Caldwell will be here momentarily. We will go into closed session. We will be back in here at 6:30, so there will be nothing until 6:30. Good evening. I call back to order the Moore County Board of Education regular business meeting for Monday, August 12th. Thank you all for being here on a day that we will remember our friend and colleague, Mr. Bruce Cunningham. Is there, I guess we're starting with the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second. There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We have a special person doing the Pledge of Allegiance today. Would you like to introduce your daughter?
Sure. Peyton Caldwell from Vass Lakeview Elementary School is going to say the pledge. Maybe. Yeah.
You don't even have to say, please stand. Let's go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I understand Ms. Desmond is our inspiration for today. Welcome to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I was torn in my inspirational speech because part of me wanted to do and talk about how Bruce Cunningham inspired me for so many years. He was a good friend for a long time. And then I saw that there was also a lot of other tribute to Bruce, and I'm sure they will do a better job than I. So I've decided that I would like to tell you a little bit about one of my other heroes, Toni Morrison, who passed away last Monday. She was a beloved author, essayist, and professor emeritus at Princeton University. I'm going to read a quote from her obituary in the New York Times that sort of summed her up in my mind. She was the first African-American woman to win the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1993. Ms. Morrison was the author of 11 novels, as well as children's books and essay collections. Among them were celebrated works like Song of Solomon, which received the National Book Critics Circle Award in 1977, and Beloved, which won the Pulitzer Prize in 1988. In awarding her the Nobel, the Swedish Academy cited her novels characterized by visionary force and poetic import, through which she gives life to an essential aspect of American reality. Toni Morrison wrote about difficult things in beautiful prose and emphasized the power of language to do good and to do harm. In her acceptance speech for her Nobel Prize, she said, "We die. That may be the meaning of life, but we do language. That may be the measure of our lives." By that measure, Toni Morrison was enormous. She inspired thousands, and she will be missed. Let's be inspired by her to monitor our language and use it for the power of good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. She walked off okay already. Let's take a moment of silence, and during that time, I'd like to remember Bruce Cunningham, and please just think about Anne and the girls and all the family and friends who knew Bruce. Thank you. So in honoring Bruce today, I have promised no tears. Ms. Carter has not. She is ready. In honoring Bruce today, it's hard to know how to measure, 16 years of service on the Board of Education, or almost that much, and 45 years of service to our town and to the area. We did have a collection of photos that have been pulled together. I know Ann and the girls shared many during the memorial service, but we found a few more that you may not have, and so we would like to share some remembrances of Bruce and his impact in the schools. So I met Bruce just a little over 6 years ago. It wasn't until I joined the board 4 years ago that I got to know him and understand his impact on the county. I still remember the first meeting in his office after I had been sworn in. And I think it was Bruce training or something, because he was trying to bring me up to speed on a lot of things. And I remember just sitting there with my jaw on the floor when he told me that he, helped start Springfest, toured more, renovated the Southern Sunrise Theater, had a playground built at Southern Pines Primary, and all these things that I had done with my family in terms of enjoying Southern Pines had been a part of my family's life in the area that he had helped create. And that was just astounding to me. And what was astounding is that you didn't know it just from looking at him or talking to him. He was very quiet about some of these accomplishments, and he did it with his passion and with his expertise and just with his internal drive that made all of this happen. And it was quite an astonishing moment for me sitting in his office realizing, wow, this is a big deal. He is a big deal, but you would never know that from meeting him. There's one photo that didn't make it in there that I will make sure to share with you, Anne, and that is a photo of during the bond campaign last year. He and your trusty golden retriever, Molly, came down to the office and to the bond campaign office in Southern Pines, and we did not have a shirt that fit Molly. So we found one and we cut it, and we put it on Molly, and Molly and Bruce went off into Springfest, something that he had helped start, and was sharing all he could about why the schools were needed and how they would benefit the community. And when he came back, he looked tired. I was a little worried at first. He came back, he sat down in the office with Molly there, and he had this look of pure exhaustion, but pure contentment. And every time I see that picture, I think about that exhaustion and contentment is really what embodies what Bruce did for all of us in terms of the level of detail and the level of effort that he put into everything. So I will share that photo with you because it looks like he's tired, but he's not. He's really, really happy. And that light is something that will not go away. We have asked several people to come and share their remembrances of Bruce today, and I would like to start with a student who knew him, who is now a graduate of Pinecrest High School, Miss Laura Lee Nagy. If you would like to come up and share your thoughts.
As a member of the Pinecrest speech and debate team, I witnessed Mr. Cunningham in a role many of you haven't seen. He was a man who devoted half, sometimes all of his weekends to our team, even the weekends when that meant spending part of Saturday or Sunday on a school bus. He'd be at Pinecrest by 5:30 a.m. to drive all over the state with our team, sometimes even driving a vehicle containing 5 or more sleep-deprived, anxious high schoolers. He was kind-hearted, gracious. Throughout my 4 years in speech and debate, Mr. Cunningham was always present. He was our team dad. When competition meant flying out of state, Mr. Cunningham was the one leading the way through the airport. When a fellow debater was clueless on how to tie a tie, Mr. Cunningham held a workshop on the back of her charter bus. Needless to say, with Mr. Cunningham's seminar and Miss Peterson not letting the disheveled boys live down their dishevelry, every boy did and will continue to show up with ties tied around their necks. Mr. Cunningham always knew his place. He was the good cop to Miss Peterson's bad cop. He was a man who taught me to appreciate and capture every moment, even the simple ones. Many of the photos of our team would not exist without Mr. Cunningham's gift for capturing those moments. As we waited for a round, returned to the fold victorious with trophies in our hands and smiles on our faces. I looked at some of those photos a couple weeks ago, and I stumbled upon a video of the entire speech and debate team singing "Take Me Home, Country Roads," led by our fearless leader, Miss Peterson. Every one of us was off-key, and I was screaming into the microphone, but in the right-hand corner, I saw Mr. Cunningham make his way over, camera in his hand, to be part of our noisy sentiment. That was him, capturing moments. Creating the Bruce Award for our speech and debate team doesn't stress the impact he had on our team. Mr. Cunningham was not a man to affect just one person. My close friend, Audrey Ledford, who learned debate at the knee of Mr. Cunningham, if you will, stressed, "Bruce always spoke to me as an equal. giving me advice, but also asking about things he didn't know. He always saw potential rather than flaw. He saw the potential in all of us to better ourselves even when we didn't win our event. And he saw the potential to humble ourselves when we did. He saw all of our individual potentials and helped provide an outlet for young, politically charged high schoolers determined to fight for a better tomorrow. Outside of speech and debate, Mr. Cunningham worked tirelessly with AP Lit students to maximize their potential in their college essays. College essays are one of the most vulnerable moments of our high school career. Yet Mr. Cunningham spent hours on weeknights after a full day of being a lawyer to guide hundreds of seniors to their destinations after high school. He helped us unleash our potential and portray it to whoever we wanted. Our new speech and debate shirts, our Bruce shirts, remind us to unleash our inner Bruce. Unleash our appreciation of the small moments of meaningfulness. Unleash the ability to see through others' flaws. Unleash our own potential. Mr. Cunningham helped my teammates and me unleash our potential through speech and debate. And as I embark on my journey after high school, I will forever carry my inner Bruce, literally wearing it on my sleeve.
Thank you, Laura Lee. Mr. Christina, the former principal of Pinecrest High School, also has a few words he'd like to share.
This is. The mic was actually up here last time. And when I was here last time, I didn't need readers. But I need readers now. So, my name is Bob Christina. I am the former principal of Pinecrest High School. Although I may not have known Mr. Cunningham as well as others, I'm certainly honored to say a few words about him today. It was late July 2015. I was recently approved by the Board of Education to be the next principal of Pinecrest High School. I was in my office. I was a bit overwhelmed at the time. I was running 2 schools at the same time as I was not released from my former position. My administrative assistant, Ms. Freeman, came into my office and said, Mr. Cunningham would like to see me. He would like to show me the Southern Pines area. I swiveled my chair and I said, okay, who's Mr. Cunningham? She said, Mr. Christina. He is the board chair. I said, oh, yeah, definitely. Set that up. Set that up. So on one morning, around 9 o'clock, Mr. Cunningham came over to school. I told Ms. Freeman, I said, I'm going to drive. That way I don't get captured. I can dictate when I can get back to school. She said, that's a good idea. I said, thanks. So our morning travels. We visited a cemetery and learned its history. I visited the railroads. I learned the history of the railroads in Southern Pines. I went to West Southern Pines area, the former West Southern Pines High School, now Southern Pines Primary School, and learned about Blanchie Carter Discovery Park. I got a tour of the lost city in West Southern Pines and learned that it actually has its own zip code. Then we went to lunch at Nosh the Deli in downtown Southern Pines. Needless to say, I did not get back at 11:30 or 12 like I had told the secretary. In the afternoon, if you know Bruce, you'll understand the context behind this. In the afternoon, we visited Pinehurst, and I learned why all the streets are built at right angles. We went and ventured to northern part of Moore County, and I learned a little bit about Seagrove and pottery, and learned that there's a former Pinecrest math teacher who does ironwork up there presently to this day. Then we visited Aberdeen area, the former Aberdeen High School, Aberdeen Elementary. I got a tour of the Weymouth Center, its history, and the horse farms. I got a tour of the streets in downtown Southern Pines, and I got an understanding of why the streets are named after states. Back in and on that, I got a tour of a 1920s house where the rich and famous used to come and party in the 1920s and 1930s. I got a tour of the Sunrise Theater. There were a lot more things we did that day. It was a lot, but I didn't force the issue. I let him go, and we did get back by 4:30. So you're asking, what did I learn? I learned everything about northern Moore County area. I learned everything about Southern Pines, West Southern Pines, and Aberdeen areas. I learned that there was a person in the Board of Education committed to community children like nobody I had ever met in all my experiences serving in 4 school systems in North Carolina. I learned that this person was absolutely the most deliberate person I'd ever met in my life and would take the time in detail to tell me everything the right way. I learned that the Board of Education chair took the time in his kindness and thoughtfulness for me in order to ensure my success. It was a story I never told anybody. I haven't told Ann, I haven't told anybody, because it was pretty personal to me that someone took the time for me to be successful. One last thing about Mr. Cunningham. As we came back to Pinecrest, none of our conversation involved the high school. It was only the community. It was about kids, communities, and schools. But it wasn't specific to Pinecrest. But he did say one thing at the end. He said, I forgot to tell you this, he said, apparently there's 3 children who won a contest in 1969 to name Pinecrest High School. He said 2 of those children are the older brother and sister of your admin assistant, Miss Marion Freeman, to name the high school. And I would say, boy, Bruce Cunningham came full circle on that. And with that, I would say, rest in peace, Bruce Cunningham. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christina. Board members, I'd like to open it up to Dr. Grimacy first, and then to any board members that would like to say something. I know we've all done at various times, so at your leisure. Dr. Grimacy.
Ann and I spoke frequently in the hours and days following Bruce's passing. Tonight I offer my public expression of loving regards to her in person. Finally got a chance to hug and be hugged back. And to Katie and Jenny, who are present with us as members of our video streaming audience. Is that still true? Okay, where's the camera? Everybody wave at them. Okay.
Wow.
12:30 a.m. And she knows where her children are. Okay. So what else can anyone say about Bruce that has not been written or said since his passing 5 short weeks ago? Well, I can only reaffirm all of the many positive characterizations of him as a man, as a legal mind, as a champion for our community and our schools, as one of my own wisest counselors and one of my dearest friends. However, there are 3 people named Ann, Katie, and Jenny who also characterized Bruce very accurately a few weeks ago as an occasional annoyance. And it is on this characterization I would like to dwell for a moment. Allow me, therefore, to add evidence to a characterization offered by Katie during the July 18th celebration of Bruce's life at Sunrise Theater. Board members in particular may recall Katie's moving description of Bruce's predictable response pattern when he disagreed with a position you have taken. He would become quiet as he contemplated your position. He would look at you in the eye and with a slight smile on his face. Katie would go on to describe how that represented her father's instinctive desire to find compromise, which was accurate and on Bruce's behalf commendable. However, that same pregnant pause, if you will, also could be greatly annoying when the other party really was right and Bruce was really wrong. So as much as I was inspired by Katie's depiction of her father's art of compromise, I had to work through those few but memorable times when he was wrong, I was right, and there was no room for compromise. Well, all kidding aside, Katie had her father described perfectly. Bruce was an ultimate bridge builder. No, we didn't always agree, but we agreed most of the time, and we always worked hard to find common ground. And David, you're sitting here. I remember you said almost the same thing about your dad and Bruce as well, so I'm not the first one to characterize it that way. At times I came to see that I was wrong and Bruce was right. And to Bruce's credit, there were times when he came to see that he was wrong and I was right. But most of the time, we found ways to meet in the middle for the benefit of the common good of our students, our teachers, our support staff, and our community. Now, Bruce humbly referred to himself as, quote unquote, a man in an army of volunteers, unquote. And John had was the first one to mention that in a column that he wrote, and it struck me. As soon as I read that, it occurred to me that in my experience, I saw Bruce as a one-man army of volunteers. As I've said before, Bruce's passing leaves a, quote, cavern in our hearts and in our community, unquote. Yet if he were here, Bruce would be the first to assure everyone that he maintains great confidence in each of you, his surviving school board colleagues. He would tell you that you possess the devotion to the common good, the good judgment, the experience, and the intuitive instinct to find the right person to pick up his torch and to help guide our school district and our community across that cavern. Let me conclude by sharing my final text message communications with Bruce on Thursday and Friday, July 4th and 5th. As was his custom, Bruce used his vacation time to think about more county schools, of course. That meant he was texting me. So as he vacationed in Ireland, he shared some of his thoughts with me. On Thursday, July 4th, he concluded one of those thoughts related to the new Southern Pines Elementary School with the following text. I look forward to more discussion. Also look forward to hearing traditional Irish music in a little pub. We're off. Also look forward to hearing traditional Irish music in a little pub. We're off. Just 24 hours later, after devoting the evening to assisting Ann and the girls with their phone calling obligations, I sent the following text message back to Bruce. I share it now as my final tribute. Quote, to my dear friend Bruce, I just learned this evening that you suffered a heart attack today and that you're not coming home. I spoke with Ann, Katie, and Jenny on the phone. They're strong. I told them that I was blessed to know that they were with you at the moment you left us. I thank them for being there to bid farewell on our behalf. Enjoy the traditional Irish music and save me a seat in that little pub. I promise to let you know how things go with your beloved Southern Pines Elementary project, and rest assured you'll be remembered when we cut the ribbon. Your fellow servant leader and broken-hearted friend, Bob.
All right, no pressure. Anybody else? Mr. Dennison.
Bruce and I spent several years together on the school board, and I want to talk about a couple things that I remember most about Bruce. We had numerous conversations about school issues and our students over the 9 years we served on the board together, but we never disagreed on what we wanted for our students. But sometimes we did disagree on the best way to get there. I will mention two specific memories that I will always remember, and I think the community will remember one of them very much. First, Bruce's election as board chair. I called Bruce on November 7, 2014, and asked him if he would consider running for if he had considered running for the board chair. And he said he had considered it and he wanted to. And I told him that, well, that was good because one of us had to be board chair, and I knew I would not get elected because of the issues with some board members when I was elected chair in 2012 after 12 votes. After three breaks and 78 votes later, Bruce was elected chair on December the 1st, 2014. The second instance I remember, this runs between May the 29th, 2015 and June 2015. But in that period of time, we had numerous conversations through that time, almost on a daily basis, regarding the firing of Dr. Bob, appointing new members, and appointing new members to the board. We went on a radio tour on June the 8th where we went to Star Radio, talked to Jenny there and talked to Billy Bag of Donuts, and then we went to WEEB and talked to Steve Adams about what had happened. And then we had our regular board meeting that same day, and Dr. Grimacy was rehired as superintendent of Moore County Schools. I will miss Bruce and his passion for our students. I will always be mindful of what he wanted for our children, with the hopes we accomplish what we have worked so hard together for many years. Thank you.
I just want to stay here.
Okay.
I've had the pleasure of knowing Bruce and Ann for about 20 years. Those friendships are hard to find and sometimes even harder to keep. I appreciated that Bruce and I could disagree, but leave the table with respect and agree to disagree. I will miss Bruce's calmness and his energy, his caring for our students and community, and especially his friendship.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Ms. Thompson?
Yeah, I'm going to stay here as well. I came in contact with Bruce back in 2006, midsummer, somewhere along there, at a night at Northmore High School in the auditorium. And Dr. Larry Upchurch was presenting the plan for the bond referendum for some of the additional buildings on the school. And I was asking questions, and after the meeting, Bruce came up to me and he said, "Are you Pam Thompson?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am." And from then, we just had the hour conversation. And he ended up saying, "You need to run for school board." And I looked at him like he was crazy, I guess. But he and I stayed in contact after that. And long story short, I became a member of the school board in 2006. And through that time, we worked and we got Cranes Creek, we got West Pines Elementary, and we had added on to several schools up in the Northern Moore area. And after that, we went our separate ways, so to speak, but we stayed in contact. And then 2015, June of 2015 rolled around when we had a big uproar, and Dr. Dipsey, I was a board of trustee at that time, and we went to Union Pines and we listened to some of the going-ons, and afterwards I called Bruce and I said, "Bruce, let me know if you need me. I'll be available if you need me." And so Bruce and I, we just had a connection. But I remember there was a time to where when I really wasn't familiar, one of the things that really moved me was the backpack program. And Bruce explained it to me, and he said, "Well, let's go to Aberdeen. Let's be a part of that." And when I did, he met me, and he would always say, "Well, let's meet and we'll ride together." So we went there, and tears came to my eyes to know the program and what it was all about, and to know that I was packing a backpack for little children for the weekend so that they wouldn't be hungry. And Bruce had a passion for trying to make sure equality, equity for some of our underprivileged students in the county. He wanted to make sure they had the same opportunity as everyone else. And he just went the extra mile just to make sure that no child, literally, no child was left behind. So I will remember Bruce. He definitely will be missed. And I'm just thankful that I have had an opportunity to know him and their lovely family. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson.
Yes. So, Anne, I did say something last week, and I was a belivering mess. So I'm glad you didn't see that. So I'm hoping I'm going to, I did write something else. Last week was more about my feelings and how I just really worshipped him. But I just wanted to give a few memories, if that's okay with you. I know I talked about Bruce about the last meeting and how much he really meant to me. I thought today I would just share some stories and accomplishments that I have witnessed while serving on the board. Bruce was always patient, kind, soft-spoken, and a deep thinker. I never met anyone that was so knowledgeable about our county and knew all the history. He gave me a book once that was all about Southern Pines and its history, and I know he gave it to Helena as well. Before I could even open to the first page, Bruce pretty much told me the entire book. Quite frankly, his stories were so much better than the book he gave me because his stories had meaning, enthusiasm, and depth. Bruce always did his research, and he was a great lawyer. And as the great lawyer he was, he always had facts to prove his findings or beliefs. For example, Bruce and I were at the facilities committee. We're on the facilities committee, and we met we had to make a lot of decisions for McDeed's Creek. Before I even got to the meeting, this is before I even walked in the door, Bruce was already sitting there looking at all the color schemes and the brick that they were even considering for the school. I didn't even have a chance to even look it over. Another time he called me to his office because he wanted to show me a humongous map he got from the county that he magnified more county neighborhoods. When I walked into his office, he was typing up a speech that was about 4 pages long, and he was going to present it to all of us. He said that the speech was, in which he told me that he had an aha moment at 4 a.m. and he had to get it all down on paper. Another memory that I will treasure was a conversation we had after a meeting at Southern Middle. I asked him if he was okay, and I remember Bruce saying to me, "Oh yeah, this comes with the job. The public doesn't know the whole story about my family situation." When I asked if he was going to clear it up, he stated, why? What would that accomplish it was 20 years ago. I want to focus on the now. This is what is important here. He went on to say that you cannot please everyone, and all we can do is be true to ourselves and do what is right for the children. We stood outside for a while that night talking, and that was a conversation and a moment I will never forget. As I mentioned last week during my speech, Bruce and I talked a lot before he left for Ireland and how excited he was taking this trip with his wife and girls. He told me it was the honeymoon that he wanted years and years ago. Among all the excitement he had about his vacation, he still wanted to talk about our schools, his vision, and his concerns. He was very excited on where Moore County was headed. He wanted me to make sure while he was gone to keep everything moving forward and to, of course, keep him up to date if anything changed. Of course, I laughed it off, but I did promise him that I would make sure his visions were not forgotten. Little did I know that was our last conversation. I miss Bruce tremendously, and I know he probably would tell me to stop fussing over him right now. He would always hold a special place in my heart, and I will treasure his memories. I am grateful and thankful for everything he did for me and my family. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. I won't. Anne, I'd like to ask you to come forward if you don't mind. We have a presentation for you, and I like to ask all the board members to come forward so we can have a photo with Anne and this plaque. Come on over here. I'm going to read it in the microphone, and then I'll come over and we'll take a picture. Come with me. Come. So this is for you. It's in memory of Bruce Cunningham, Jr., dedicated service and outstanding contributions to the Moore County Board of Education, 2004 to 2019. Doesn't have all that other stuff that he does. Good, that's okay. Vice Chair from 2004 to 2005, Chair from 2006 to 2007, and 2014 to 2015. Presented today, August 2019, and the one thing I wanted to share with you is the quote that we put in here. One person in a large number of volunteers, and that is how Bruce thought of himself. That's how he described himself when he received numerous awards in this county, and that is something I want you to keep with you forever.
Photoshop on this.
Bring it in.
Somebody have an agenda I can look at? Oh. My agenda is too? Oh, I got it. Okay. Thank you all for being here for this. That was a beautiful way to remember him, and thank you for your comments. I appreciate that, and I know they're there. We're not going to make you say them. We do have a little work tonight. Are we ready to move on into the program highlight?
Yes, ma'am, with your permission.
Thank you.
I'll invite Ms. Murphy and Mr. Eklund to provide us with our program highlight.
Thank you, Dr. Grimacy, Chair Walling-Miller, members of the board. Catherine Murphy and I are here to present to you about our new website and communications system. As you're aware, you approved with the expiration of our previous contract. We took that as an opportunity to support the communications department in selecting a new platform for both the website and the mass communication system. So we are here to support the communications department in presenting to you a preview for you and the community in general, what's going to be happening when we transition at the beginning of September.
So as you know, with the approval of this contract with School Messenger, we actually consolidate our contracts for our mass communication services to the district, as well as for our district and school-based website platforms. We decided to do this consolidation with one company. One was a reduced modest cost, but a reduced cost. Improving efficiency in terms of district and school-based website maintenance. So it's a much easier platform to use, much easier for school-based staff to keep updated. And then improve our mass communications outreach by having a direct interface with school, or PowerSchool. So that really helped with streamlining our data as well. Okay, so the School Messenger service, it's called Communicate. It replaces what is now referred to as ConnectEd. Those are those messages that you get when I do those mass calls telling you school is shut down the next day for hurricanes and snow events and things like that. But it's also the service that our thank you. I get a lot of applause when I mention that. But it's also the service that our principals use when they do communication to our school-based staff. So we definitely had to have their input on the services that we pick as well, because they are more likely to use this service than we are at the central office. So helping improve those communication services to our parents was really a key factor of this. A really nice feature of this service is unlimited customer support and training. That is something that we did not have with the previous ConnectEd service that we do have now. If a principal or a school-based personnel has an issue, they can call directly 24/7 to their customer service line and get support. We're able to brand our schools and brand our district through our mass communications, and I'll talk more about that in a second. Now, we did this migration in July 1, and many of you here in the room have probably already gotten a couple of messages. There's been a few tweaks along the way, because during that summertime we were able to identify problems, such as it would show up with the spam warning, or maybe it got rerouted to other phone numbers and too many phone numbers and things like that. So we've done a lot of tweaking over the summer to streamline it, make sure it really looks nice and clean to everybody. Not too many huge changes from ConnectEd. We still want parents to sort of have that experience, but sort of not so much of an impact and a huge change, and that sort of thing. So we felt that we did work out a lot of those kinks, and those will continue to be worked out as we're going through the process. So this is what a message from Moore County Schools will look like. As you can see, we can add the logo now to the message. It's really clean, white background. And what's also nice is the report. So as soon as a principal or staff member sends out a communicate message, we get a report instantly that tells us what calls were answered, what calls failed, how many emails were delivered, how many emails failed, but it also tells us that information person by person. We did not have that feature with ConnectEd, so if a parent calls a school and says, I'm not getting your messages, we can go into the report and say, oh, it looks like we need to update your information, it was an incomplete call, or yes, we had a call go to this number or this voicemail, does this need to be updated? So it's really helpful to know at the individual level if that communication is completing. This is an example of our school-based stationery, so we have an opportunity to brand our schools with their communicate messages as well. So every school has its own logo and header for their school. So people can easily tell the difference between Moore County schools and a school-based message.
So some additional information about the communication platform. Sorry. As you mentioned, it replaces the ConnectEd platform. There's improved data integration and automation. It integrates directly with PowerSchool. Some of the increased features that's going to make a big difference in the school district is it integrates directly with our transportation department for bus routes. And as Catherine mentioned, we've gotten a lot better support from the vendor, but also in terms of getting additional accounts for users to be able to use the system. So now our transportation department will have bus information and then be able to communicate directly to parents when there's an issue with a bus or a change in a bus. The schools will also be able to take advantage of that. Some of the things that weren't automated before that will be automated now is calls about lunch balances and the high school attendance calls as well to notify parents if a student did not make it to school. There's also integration directly inside of PowerSchool because we do a lot of our work inside of PowerSchool. They can do a message directly inside of PowerSchool and take advantage of selections they make. So it's very easy for a school administrator to say, I just need to send something to 6th grade, choose 6th grade, and then send a message off to all those students. As we showed the improved reporting functions, there's also going to be communicate apps for admins and parents that we'll be launching.
So the web platform that we're going to be transitioning to is actually called Presence. That's another school messenger product. We adopted a standard template used by many districts throughout the U.S. So it didn't have to be custom built. We had a suite of standard templates we could choose from with the company, and we picked one of those and then just migrated Moore County Schools content onto that. So that really saved us a lot of time and expense on the design process. But we can still adjust it if we find we need to have certain things might be higher up on the page or something like that. We still have the ability to make those changes. Definitely more integrated editing tools. It's a lot faster to edit for sure. And then publishing visuals with photography and other graphics is a lot easier. Again, the service has unlimited training and customer service support 24/7. It's also ADA compliant. I will say our last site our current site that's about to go away is not ADA compliant. And that's an important consideration with screen readers for students that have visual disabilities to be able to read, or parents to read our content. They offer ongoing design support. So like I said, if we do want to change something about the layout of the page, we can do that system-wide. And then streamlining content, we're going to find a lot of the school-based content is now going to link back to one page of the district where you're just updating it one time. An example are athletic forms. Those get renewed every year. They're the same whatever high school you're at, so why do you have to post it 3 times and then the district just have it at the district and it'll automatically populate to all the high schools. So that's helpful. And I will give a quick tour. Laura May will bring it up. So you'll see that it's adopting our new branding colors that we selected earlier this year. If you move up to the very top, you'll see select a school at the very, very top there. We've organized our schools by district, primary, elementary, middle, and high school, and other. And then you also see language, so it has an automatic translating service. service on the site, which is a really nice feature to have. On the right-hand side, it links to the district or the school's Facebook page, Twitter, other social media that school or the district may be using at that time. The drop-down, or what I call the top-line channel bars for the high school, elementary, and middle schools are all consistent now. So across the board, they have the same content along those top channel bars. And then the drop-down menus are also consistent across whether you're an elementary, middle, or high school. We have an area for an image, for imagery. And then the announcements on the right-hand side come directly from the school or the district. So if you're with Pinecrest High School and you put out a Connect Ed, or you want to post your morning announcements, you can do that right here. So each school can have that feature independently. We have quick links that are in the middle of the page that link to our transportation, our menus, how to enroll Power School, job listings, things like that. The district latest news section is a news feed from the district. So that will appear on every school-based website. And then if we keep going down, we have the calendar. That'll be school-based for individual schools. And then their Twitter feed for individual schools. So it's a lot less work to have to maintain content on those landing pages for schools. We don't have to populate an entire page. And we have that ability to really be able to add some really brief headlines and announcements that they can click through. Any questions so far?
I actually do.
Yeah.
Will there be an app that coincides with this, or are we getting rid of the app altogether?
Yes, there is a new app in the iOS store. It's automatically going to update to the new platform.
Okay.
On Google, it will actually have to, on the Android side, will announce that if you need to go and download the new version of the app.
Okay, and my other question was, can teachers have their own website too, or is this just mainly for the school itself?
It's technically possible, but we're worrying primarily about making sure that the school websites are consistent and that information is available. So.
About how many people are signed up for the former Connect Ed or the current, what do you call it, the messenger platform? About how many phone numbers do you have in there?
Oh, well, the total number of phone numbers we have in the system, it's all pulled directly from PowerSchool. So it's going to be 14,000 individual contacts and then over 50,000 individual phone numbers. Some of the advantages on the new platform is that some of the trickery we had to do in Connect Ed to dial multiple numbers if for a normal announcement, now they're just check boxes. So if it was a household where there were two parents sharing custody, for instance, it's a matter of just going to the platform and saying, make sure that on any regular calls you call this number and this number, rather than having to do something funky and creating additional contacts.
So with 100,000 people in Moore County, a lot of people are getting these phone calls. Which is important, actually. It just shows that we are reaching them. This is an important service to have because we need to have a way to reach all those that are working with our students or are supporting our students.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, when you go into Connect Ed, that's a good point. So when you go into Connect Ed or Communicate now, you can either select that it's a general message, and that'll go to one number per contact, or you select an emergency message that could go to 6 numbers per contact. So that's why you have 50,000 numbers in there. So if it's an emergency, we blast it to every number. If it's just a general information type of thing, it'll just go to that primary contact. But yeah, including staff, parents, staff, it's nearly 15,000 people.
It's an important communication tool, and it's important that it's easy to use and maintain and keep updated.
Yes.
Yeah. It updates every day, every night at midnight with Power School.
Some additional information about the Presence web platform. It integrates directly with our Google G Suite for logins and groups, so we're able to take advantage of group membership to restrict access to pages. We also have a lot more fine-grained control of the page and the editing rights, and that will help significantly in maintaining a consistent look and feel of all the school websites so that the community knows if I need to look for this information, it's going to be in a consistent place on all the school websites. So there's a lot less hunting around for information. We're going to have improved calendar sync. We're integrating it with school calendars that the school will be able to leverage directly on their own calendars on their devices. Also, one thing we didn't have in the previous platform was automatic updating of the high school athletic calendars. had to be done manually before. This system will then will subscribe to the athletic calendars and then automatically pull them down. So that information on the school websites will be kept up to date.
So all school events will be on that school's website?
Yes.
That's fantastic. That'll make it so much easier.
And another feature is, in addition to the other communications channel, there's also an emergency alerts banner. If there's something that we absolutely have to get out to all the schools, that when we send it out as an emergency alert, it will not only appear on the district website, it will appear on every school website as well. So just in the conclusion, we've selected and will be implementing an improved website platform, an improved communications platform. It's got improved training and support, and this is going to be at a reduced cost to the district.
So we're saving $4,000
Over 3
each
years.
year?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was some implementation costs, so that the savings, the yearly savings, is going to increase as we continue with the platform.
And it's a lot less in staff time and, effort.
And that's an important cost that is,
Yes.
we have to keep in count of. All right, any other questions?
Thank you all.
And when will it launch? When will all of,
Targeting early September right now. We want schools to be able to get back in session. We're still training a lot of the school-based webmasters and getting them ready for the launch. It's basically available to our school-based webmasters right now as a demo site, so they can go in now and start working with it and updating it and doing things. And then once it switches over to the new site, we're still keeping the old site live if we need to go back and retrieve anything for those schools.
great.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very exciting. All right, board members, we have several items on the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve.
So there is a motion to approve by Ms. Thompson, a second by Dr. Brown. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right,
All right,
Ms.
we're
Carter. we're
now ready for public address. A reminder that each individual is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. We ask that you pay a little attention to the countdown clock so that we don't have to break into your important message. We have 9 speakers tonight. The first one is Catherine Chow.
Good evening, board members. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Catherine Chow. I'd like to address the redistricting that's going on that has been in the public eye. A lot of feelings and a lot of viewpoints have been shared. And one thing that really kind of rubs me the wrong way is we have a really big elementary school population right now, and we're addressing the elementary schools, and it has come to my attention that many members of our community are wondering, well, why are middle schools and high schools not being addressed? And someone had come up to me personally, recognized me in public, and asked me. So I just want to make sure that we know that there's a master facilities plan that is accessible, it's public, everybody can look at it. You can see exactly where things lie on the timeline, and I think it would behoove all of us to revisit that page. When Moore County School says we need X amount of money needed for school-related expenses, the predictable feedback is, why does it cost so much? They're wasting our money. So obviously we know that Moore County Schools is not wasting our money. They are very transparent. We can see where every red cent is allotted. So Moore County Schools asked for exactly what was needed for the 3 elementary schools and the Community College Nursing Education Center. So it was laid out. When redistricting is mentioned, recently we've heard many people say, well, I was unaware that I would be redistricted for another school, or I didn't think my district would change. But we're building 800 capacity schools. So it's just, it makes sense. You know, if we didn't redistrict, then we would have schools that would have only like 400, 300, 400 kids, and it's built for 800 capacity. And then next door, and you have a school that's overcrowded once again. So we have to really think about what we're asking, if it makes sense. So what I thought is if we made 1,000 capacity elementary schools, would people complain that it was too big and that we were not using our money wisely? I think Moore County Schools has our best interest in mind, and they are doing the best that they can do for us. And I appreciate that. There are many of us who appreciate it. And I'm very sorry that there are so many who say they don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Slusser.
So last January, the principal of my daughter's school emailed me and asked me if I would like to be West Pine Elementary's parent representative for the advisory committee on redistricting. I love the parents in my school, and I love the kids in my school. And my first thought was I just wanted to do whatever I could to help them. However, in 2015, a part of your master facilities plan would have helped the kids in my school. It included a plan to build an addition onto West Pine Elementary. The 100-student increase in capacity to West Pine Elementary was only going to cost $1.2 million, about $12,000 per student. At $38 million, the new Pinehurst Elementary will cost $47,500 per student. Even if capacity was added to the cafeteria and gym, tacking on a few $1,000,000, it still would have been dramatically more cost-efficient. The newest draft of the student assignment plan reassigns about 38% of the kids in my school. Just adding the simple addition would have eliminated the need to reassign any of the students from my school. But that's not all. The 2015 Master Facilities Plan also included expansions to Pinecrest, Union Pines, a new concept high school, and a desperately needed new middle school. We are spending $103 million. $103 million is a lot of money, and not even addressing those issues. So why was the plan changed? I'm also concerned about the reliance on Numerix's model calculations for the reassignment process. Mike Miller, ORED projections were at one point almost 40,000 students, or 25% off, a 10-year projection in Wake County. And we are also using them here. Wake County Public Schools grew by only 42 students last year, while homeschools and charter schools grew substantially. Quote, how the district and county planners missed the mark by more than 1,800 students last year is unclear. Predicting enrollment is more art than hard science. I'm not surprised that the enrollment projections weren't correct. I am surprised by the magnitude of the error. End quote. That was Terry Stoops of the John Locke Foundation, and that was said in the Carolina Journal. So my question is, what happens if the predictions are inaccurate and kids are transferred needlessly? Also, with the models predicting that some of the new schools will be over 90% utilization shortly, what if neighborhoods need to be moved again in less than 5 years? Who is going to be held responsible for that? Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony McCauley.
Good evening, Board. My first meeting, and it's a pleasure to be here. But I'm coming from a different angle of some of the things that are brought to my attention, as well as me being on the front line in the school system seeing. And I want us to get to a point where we can start to develop an appreciation for diversity. So many buzzes in the community with people like, and some of those, they're not even here, but I'm here. So people are saying that to be effective in a diverse classroom, teachers must have an appreciation of diversity. They must view difference as the norm in society and reject notions that any one group is more competent than the other. This entails developing respect for differences and the willingness to teach each from this perspective. Moreover, there must be an acknowledgement that the teacher's view of the world are not their only views, that they be their only views. I run a program called Males of Distinction in the school systems. I left, I was with More Buddies Mentoring, in-school mentoring program as the in-school coordinator in 7 schools in Moore County. I left that position on good terms because I see another area that needs concern. And I left that with no salary. I'm running this program with 22 young men. This is not an African-American male program. This is a program for all young men. But what I hear when I match up mentors is I can hear a white man say, please do not match me with a black young man. I don't think I could do anything for him. Or I can hear a black man say opposite, same thing. I do not want to be matched with a young white kid because I can't do anything for him. Well, if you can't, you're already out of the loop because your mindset is already messed up. So what I'm seeing within the schools, how do I get 8th graders that cannot read? I'm teaching reading all summer to 8th grade boys who can't say the word Staples in front of the department store. Well, if I have to do that, that's what I'm going to do. But I just want the board and the community to know about unity, and let's unite and not have this fear of the unknown because of someone that may not look like you. But I am developing young men and helping them transition. Males transition into manhood. Males is making achievable life-enhancing strides. I am in 5 schools this year. Dr. Massengill, I'll see you soon. And I'm doing this out of pocket, but so what? I love doing what I'm doing. I ended up in Moore County. I'm from Davidson County. I've been around the United States. I was on my way to Houston, Texas to run a program, but I ended up getting married, and the young lady stayed here. We were high school sweethearts, and we got back together after 30 years or whatever happened, so here I am. And I love Moore County, but I was born a Bulldog, and I'll be a Bulldog till I'm dead, but I love the Patriots. But anyway, just be aware of the Males of Distinction program, and we are doing great things within the county, within the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. John Snipes.
This is the first time I've had a chance to speak here or anything, and I may be a little bit sidetracked from actually school stuff, but it has to do basically with road construction down from your new school, McDeeds Creek. Didn't know this was going to turn into a Bruce Day. Bruce, I thought a lot of him because he actually helped with a couple of cases when my grandparents were on their last legs type of deal. And so, as a matter of fact, my grandmother's name was Mary Ann. So just a little coincidence there. I didn't know that I was going to be limited to 3 minutes. I only spent like 16 years in the Moore County system. I went all the way through it, and I also transferred and did some other things outside of here. 3 minutes, I want to try and make this as quick as I can. They're planning on changing the road system down at my farm, which is at Niagara Carthage Road and Camp Easter Road. They're planning on adding a lane in there, a turning lane. No problem with that. My problem is they're going to be encroaching some on our field. I've asked, seemed like everybody in the world knew about this before I knew about it. They got up with the engineers, they got land access people, they got just a whole bunch of different people that knew about it before I did. I had a land acquisition card on my door when I came home one day to call us. They'd already made plans, and I own the land. You know, technically, it's got a right-of-way agreement there. Well, I would like to have a couple things moved a little bit so it won't encroach on us. It won't be much of a move, and it'll work good. Me and my family would like that. Everybody's pointing the fingers at the school board. They say, it's what the school board wants. And so that's the reason I'm here today, to try and work together and see what we can do so that it won't have to go into some legality something later. I think we can work together, the more little thing, and it'll save money. My ideas on this, people may wonder what's my background on this. Well, I've worked maintenance all my life, and I've got family and all who've done that type of development, so I know a little bit about this. So I'm just hoping. I need to know a way to connect with the school board. I didn't know anything until I got on the website and said, okay, I'll attend this meeting. I've already talked to everybody else, but it seems like they're shooing me off like a fly at a picnic. And even though I've got good concerns, and technically, like I say, our boundary line goes across that crossroads. We ought to have a little bit of say-so on what goes on. It's not that we don't want to change, but we just don't want to be encroached on in certain areas. Simple changes and it would save some money also. So I need to know how to get up with somebody to do this fairly soon.
Madam Chair, with your permission.
Yes.
Is Mr. Brath here? He had to leave with his hand. He had pain in his hand. Sir,
Can I leave a card?
if you would, just leave a card, and we're going to have, find out what, have you just had any conversation with Mr. Brath?
Not Brath, I did with Mullins and all, he's land acquisition fella. I got up with DOT, they sent me to Aberdeen, they sent me to Carthage, back to Aberdeen, talked to that engineer. He said, those ideas would work, but they won't do it.
If
Well,
the
I want
land
to do it.
acquisition representative sent you to a school board meeting, somebody missed a few steps in between.
Well,
So that's not your responsibility.
All of them has sent me to the school board. They said that it's all due to the school board, and I said, well, I'm gonna try any avenue I can.
Well, I appreciate that.
Because there's probably several things that the school board is not aware of.
Thank you. That's a good start. We got your contact information, and you'll be hearing from somebody tomorrow.
I was up till about 4 o'clock, I work evening shift, up till about 4 o'clock last night trying to get notes ready, and then they said only 3 minutes. Then I drove down from Greensboro just for this meeting today. So that's another day out of work.
Very much appreciated.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
Somebody follow up with you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Tony Koontz.
Good evening. I'm Tony Koontz. I'm a fourth grade teacher at Sandhills Farm Life Elementary School. I'd first like to thank the board for its tribute to an amazing man, Bruce Cunningham. Bruce was many things, including a wonderful father and husband, a believer in community, an advocate for students of public education. He would be dearly missed. I'm good. My second reason for speaking tonight is to give my support to the board for undertaking the task of redistricting. I think almost everyone would agree that overcrowding is a very real problem that dramatically affects many aspects of a school. I've been a teacher at SFL since 2001. I've experienced overcrowding firsthand. Unless you've been a student in an overcrowded school or a staff member in one, you really can't understand the impact it has on a school. You can visit or talk to people about it, but you really don't know unless you've actually lived it. Last year, I taught 2 classes of 29 and 28 fourth graders in a learning cottage on the front lawn of our school. To say small group instruction was challenging is an understatement. I had to be diligent every day when it came to the safety of my students. Whenever I heard a car door close, voices outside, or someone walking up the ramp to my classroom, I had to go on alert. I lost a great deal of instruction time taking my students to the restroom. On a good sunny day, I estimate I easily lost 40 minutes of instruction on restroom breaks. If it was raining, I lost an hour. I once told my husband that taking my class to the restroom was like driving the world's longest bus and looking for a parking spot at Target on Black Friday. You just go around and around trying to find an opening and hope you get to it before the class does. Overcrowding made whole school activities almost impossible. This made it very difficult to build a school community. School clubs had to be capped due to the sheer number of interested students, so many students did not get to participate. Our staff had to be creative in planning specials and lunch. That meant that time to meet in PLCs and plan was limited. With limited space and time, many of us felt overwhelmed. The impact on our school building was evident. Our poor custodians worked hard every day to keep our school clean and in order. With 700 plus students ages 5 to 11 using 4 old and 1 not so old restroom continuously, well, I'll let you draw your own conclusions about that. In a few weeks, the opening of McDeeds Creek will dramatically reduce the number of students who attend our school and ease our overcrowding. Building new schools is a great tool, but it is not the only solution. We know, based on the number of housing developments that have already been approved, our numbers are going to continue to increase, and we may well be back in a very similar situation as we were for the last few years very soon if we don't do something. Change is not for everyone, and you are not going to please everybody, but your task is to do what is best for students. I personally want to thank you for all of your efforts. This is not a task with which I would want to be charged, but redistricting is necessary as it is another tool to help alleviate overcrowding and do what is best, but what is in the best interest for all Moore County students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Karin Kent.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to our concerns tonight. I know you all have a lot on your mind. And the absence of Mr. Cunningham weighs heavily, so I won't take a lot of your time, and it's going to take me 3 minutes to stop crying. I would like to acknowledge the thousands of hours of work that have been put in over the last 6 months and the big decisions that lie ahead. You have chosen to serve in the very difficult position as a Board of Ed member. At some point in the last 13 years, I think I voted for each and every one of you at least once, only legally though. And for the same underlying reason, I believe that you all want what's best for our kids. No one here can tell you what that is. Only you can decide for yourself, and I have the faith in each of you that you will do what Mr. Cunningham would have done, and you will follow the courage of your convictions. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexa Roberts.
Hi. Thanks for another opportunity to speak. Love the turnout tonight. I'm here to really talk about supporting redistricting efforts. I firmly believe that the inherent social contract of a public education is that all children shall equally receive an opportunity for quality education. And ideally, a public education should level the playing field for all of our external environmental variances and afford each child the access to the same quality teachers, the same quality extracurricular programs, the same enrichment experiences, exposure to arts, music, theater, all of the things that our teachers go well out of their way to ensure that every one of our kids can enjoy, no matter what school they're in. There are a lot of opponents to the redistricting process. You know, we had somebody speak tonight about the expansion plan back in 2015 to expand West Pine Elementary School. And yes, we could have done some additions there, but it would not have addressed any of the overcrowding at Pinehurst Elementary School. It would not have addressed the safety concerns at those schools. And I believe that this board has done right by the community in working together with our county commissioners and advocating at the state level for improved funding for our schools. So I think it's very important for us all to remember that we have an opportunity here to help level the playing field. We have had former redistricting efforts that further segregated our communities. We have children in schools that still have priests, have blacks and whites on walls and things that it's not comforting. And so I think we have an opportunity here. We have the opportunity to say that it might not be okay for my child, but I have to look at the greater good. We heard a lot about Mr. Cunningham tonight. I won't say how many years ago to give up my age, but my first meeting with Mr. Cunningham was in his capacity as an attorney. I drove a friend of mine who had recently lost a license, a young father, unable to take his kids to school. And we sat in Mr. Cunningham's office, and the very first thing he said was, "What's wrong with you? This is not about you. This is about your child and making sure that every child is safe." And that was really, it struck a big nerve with him. He's still sober to this day, which is nice. And we all attribute that to Mr. Cunningham. So I guess my closing comments to you are, I know there are going to be a lot of naysayers, but it's important to do what's right by all of the children in Moore County, and that sometimes means taking the greater good over the good of one. Thank you.
Thank you. Olinda Watkins.
I just want to ask a question, and that is, being that I am with an organization, do I get extra time?
No, ma'am, that has been removed from policy.
Okay, thank you. Well, good afternoon. Of course, you know my name is Olinda Watkins, President of Moore County NAACP. And we have come to the board to say to everyone that the NAACP and families of color, we are here to say to Dr. Grimsley and to the board members that enough is enough. And I would say to Dr. Grimsley, he has said to this to me and to Dr. Brown, that you don't want Olinda and Dr. Brown over on us about the teaching of the having minority educators in our schools. So we come here today to say that, as you know, a study has already been done, and the presence of professional black educators and coaches in secondary schools is the most important factor in lowering the push-out, dropout academic and graduation gaps between students of color and the white students. Have always had teachers and school leaders on their own place to model learning and adolescence development afterwards. 2 months ago, we brought a strong evidence to the school leadership about mistreatment of 2 strong black coaches. We have now been able to confirm that the situation is worse than we spelled out in our grievance. Our education chair is not here today, but also our legal redress committee chair is here tonight. I know you have a full schedule that you will hold me to 3 minutes, and that it will dishonor my friend, Mr. Cunningham, to make the kind of presentation we considered. We were trying to set up an emergency meeting with your attorney tonight for a group of us to meet with him. I looked on the schedule on the website this afternoon and saw at McDee's Creek that you have all white females, except for the one of the pictures that there's no picture there, and we're not sure that that person is a minority. For previous years, the Moore County NAACP has been calling of hiring African Americans and other minority teachers, not only in teacher position, but also administration position in this office where I'm standing here now. We have written Superintendent Grimsley recording a Glock gun that was raffled during the Farmers Day event last weekend. Even though the policy says that it gives an approval of a raffled Glock gun, this should not have been done in light of gun violence in today's situations. We would not want this to be traced back to our high school, that a raffle by a high school student was as a fundraiser, and that was a gun law. The Moore County NAACP has been in the county 81 years. We have also worked together for a betterment of our public schools, even under Jim Crow.
Can you finish your sentence?
Thank you. It seems like we are going backwards, and always in our closing, we will always finish out saying, forward together and not one step back. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public address for the evening.
We usually don't comment on speakers. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention, though, just based on one of the speakers. One of the speakers was talking about the ORED study and what happened in Wake, and I do want to point out that Wake County is very different than Moore County, and for many reasons I'm very grateful for that we are a different community. In the data that I have looked at, the ORED study here in Moore County has been off by 1%. Which is very low, actually, if you look at that number. So if you look at the totals that we have, they actually underestimated the number of students that we would have in the last year by 140. We actually had 140 more students this past year. They look at a lot of factors, the ORED study. They look at residential development, they look at commercial development, they look at key demographic trends, which include birth rates, people moving into town, key industries that are moving into town. It is true, it is not an exact science. You cannot, completely identify everyone that's coming in and when they're coming in. But looking at a 1% rate differential here in Moore County, at least up to date, is something that I think we should feel fairly confident of. So I just wanted to make that assessment. The other thing I wanted to point out is that the board has talked about the facilities plan since 2015. I think those of us who have been on the board for that long, I know that it was planned in 2013 and 2014. And there's a lot of public records that are out there about the conversations that happened between the Board of Commissioners and the Board of Education at that time. So there is a lot of rationale for why that is the way it is. They're all available on the web pages. I appreciate your feedback. Thank you very much. Yeah, they're all there. It's all there. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you very much, Ms. Lesser. All right, that is all I have for public comment. And next, I believe we have anything else? The superintendent's report. Do you have anything for us
No,
this
ma'am, no
evening?
report this evening. What I had to say about Mr. Cunningham was all that was worth saying.
Okay, thank you. All right, public comment from our board members, or board comments.
May I?
Yes, please.
Let me find myself. On August 7th, Mr. Dennison and I had the privilege of attending the State Board of Education meeting on its STEM initiatives as part of a larger update of the board on the progress of K-2 computer science initiatives in our state. And we had the privilege of hearing Dr. Bridget Johnson, Mr. Johnson, who is the assistant director of our computer areas, and Mariah Morris, who is a former second grade teacher and currently North Carolina State Teacher of the Year, and Austin Morris, who is a social studies teacher at Pinecrest High School, speak to this. It was interesting to see the reaction from the audience of what we are doing in our small county compared to what some of the larger counties aren't doing. And it was also enjoyable to be a part of that group that made the presentation and to hear the wonderful events that are occurring for our students and our community and to do a little bragging for a change. So that was really nice. Thank you. Thank them for their wonderful presentation.
Well, thank you for attending.
No comment.
I'll be the first to admit that as a retiree, I eat out at lunch way too often. I've found that other than the hit on my waistline, it actually brings me in contact and with a good number of concerned citizens who also like to eat out. And I have the chance to often hear and answer questions that they might have. So since the same questions seem to be coming up over and over, I'd like to share my answers to all. First question. Is it really true that the new Aberdeen school site was a toxic dump? The answer to this is an emphatic no. The school site was never used as a dump site of any kind. Although much has been said about this, the site has been thoroughly vetted, and the EPA will continue to monitor any possibility for contamination. Of much more concern should be the location of the current Aberdeen Elementary School, which sits closer to a closed dump site than our new location. Or how about the numerous housing developments that have already sprung up along Highway 5? Or even new developments like the proposed Blake Village, or established ones like the Country Club of North Carolina, which also sit within a stone's throw of these former dump sites. Why, our children play soccer on beautiful fields on Morganton Road, but I imagine that most people don't know that those fields are on the site of the former town dump. Schedule your morning walk at the Pinehurst Arboretum. That's an old dump site as well. A second question. Are we trying to create schools that are racially balanced? That is not the goal of our redistricting plan. Do we have to be careful not to create schools that increase segregation of the races? Yes. Therefore, as the process has continued, the racial makeup of the new proposed districts has to be examined. Our laws forbid segregation, and we must ensure that we do not unintentionally cause this to happen. Each child in Moore County is entitled to a fair and equitable education, and our goal is to make this happen. A third question. Why do you want our middle schools to look like Pinecrest? Pinecrest is racially and academically representative of the people of southern Moore County. It graduates well-qualified student citizens ready to head to college or join the military or begin in the workforce. It introduces our young people to real-world situations while still ensuring a protected environment. Pinecrest represents the best of what is so special about a public school education. So yes, bringing the climate of Pinecrest to our middle schools would be a good thing indeed. And finally, maybe the most common question, what happened to all those ACT scores? Let me clearly explain. Contrary to the way some headlines read, there were never any ACT scores. The score sheets were lost, misplaced, or even destroyed before they were graded. The scores were not lost. The score sheets were. We do not know what happened to them. As a former Pinecrest teacher who watched and assisted over the years as students prepared to take the SAT and ACT, I do also apologize for the stress we are again placing on our students as they retake this test. I certainly wish them all well as they prepare, and I'm most appreciative of the steps now in place to be sure this never happens again. So that covers several of the most popular questions I've received. If you see me out to eat again, please stop by and chat.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Any other comments?
Madam Chair, I move the meeting be adjourned.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.